And talking about gestational diabetes, does it affect all women?
No. Not all women would be affected.
Okay.
But also, we know back at, from our medical perspective, we know that it's a risk. Pregnancy itself is a risk, poses a risk. So, and that's why we are keen to check on diabetes during pregnancy. Yes.
All right. And so at what stage would you say gestational diabetes happens? Is it at the first trimester, the second trimester, or the third? And what triggers it? Because like you said, it happens, of course, during pregnancy.
Yes.
And doesn't happen before.
Yeah.
So probably someone might be like, especially when you go get screened and you find that you do not have, you're not pre-diabetic, and of course you're not diabetic. And then you get pregnant, and then all of a sudden, you're diabetic, and that is the gestational diabetic. So what triggers it?
Okay, so beginning with the first question, at what time did it occur? So usually you find it occurring from second trimester, third trimester going up.
All right.
So if a woman is expecting and we capture diabetes at the first trimester, the very most likely thing is that she was having pre-existing diabetes, probably it had not been picked.
Okay.
But because now she's pregnant, that caused it to progress further and even to show signs and symptoms. So from second trimester, third trimester, that's when we begin to see gestational diabetes. And that's why we actually begin testing women who are expecting at that very particular time. And so usually what happens is that when a woman is expecting, there are hormones that triggers. And what happens is that they begin to get what we call insulin resistance, which now progresses into them having high blood sugar, and that contributes to diabetes in pregnancy.
Okay. And are there, let's say, women who are more susceptible to getting gestational diabetes as compared to the others? And the other question is, does it go away after pregnancy?
Yes. There are women that are more susceptible than others. And for instance, if a lady before she was expecting, she was obese. Obesity on its own was a risk factor for diabetes. Now, again, she comes in, she's pregnant. So obesity, pregnant. Now, if she was obese, she was hypertensive, probably she could have either known or not high cholesterol in it. Maybe she smokes, we don't know. So all those put together, if it's a lady and has all those things put together, poses higher risk than a lady who doesn't have, that weight, and doesn't smoke, doesn't have issues with cholesterol, doesn't have hypertension. So if you compare this lady who has all these things put together, poses a higher risk of getting gestational diabetes than the other. Now the other question is that does it go after
the baby is born?
Baby. Now, it is expected that it would live. But also, we also advise the women that diabetes would occur. The chances of this lady getting diabetes after they had gestational diabetes is higher than a lady who didn't have diabetes, there before, or didn't have gestational diabetes. So usually women who have had gestational diabetes, they have 50 to 70% occurrence of type 2 diabetes later in life, expected to around 15 years of life. And what you usually advise them is that they have to be checked. So this is what happens is that after they have delivered, between the 4th up to the 16th week after they have delivered, we need to follow them very closely so that we keep on monitoring and checking whether their blood sugars have normalized. If they have not normalized, then we move on with treatment. If they have normalized, then we advise them to make sure they're following up with their diabetes doctor. And after every 3 years, they have to do a full checkup of diabetes to make sure that they have not, they are not, tending towards
Type 2.
Type 2
diabetes.
diabetes. Yeah.
All right. And what of those who are already diabetic?
Yes.
Either genetic or any other way,
Yeah.
and then they want to get pregnant. Is that a high risk for them to maybe develop another, and that is, let's say if they're type 1 or type 2, all right, and then they get pregnant, are they also going to get the gestational, diabetes? Or is it a risk for the child?
Okay, so for a lady who was having diabetes before, we term that one as pre-existing.
Yes.
So the pregnancy will be in the pre-existing diabetes.
All right.
Okay?
Yes.
So even though we treat it as, because the pregnancy is within diabetes.
Yes.
But the other one is the diabetes that happened within when we are catching
you're pregnant.
When you're pregnant.
Yes.
So we look at them differently, even though treatment would not really be so much different, because we look at them as diabetes.
All right.
At the end of the day. So, but if a lady was having, like, let's say, for instance, type 1 diabetes, and she wants to conceive, of course, now for us, the advice would be this lady to conceive is not like any other lady who didn't have issues with diabetes. So for them, we'd approach it very differently, and they have to go through what we call pre-conception counseling.
All right.
So that they go through various steps to make sure that they are ready to conceive.
Okay.
And again, if a lady had diabetes and it is not well controlled, and then they conceive, that poses a higher risk to the fetus or to the unborn child in the fetus.
All right. Yeah. Of course, would also need you to take us through some of the steps during the counseling.
Yes.
Yeah. Period.
Yes.
For them, and of course, some of the steps they need to take and the plans and all that. But of course, we need to take a very short break.
Yes.
But when we come back, we'll delve into that and much more. So stay with us. And of course, like we said, if you have any question, remember to call us live. The number is 0791 478990. So we're taking a very short break. We'll be right with more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Glad you are still with us. This is My Doctor, and today our focus is on diabetes. And of course, before we went for break, we talked about type 1 diabetes, which is actually production of no insulin at all. Yeah. And then there's type 2, where the insulin is produced, but it's not enough, or even if it's enough, the body is not able to process it. And we also talked about the gestational diabetes, which happens during pregnancy. And like we said, we are live. So if you have any question in regards to today's topic, then feel free to call in live. Festus is here to, of course, answer all your questions in regards to diabetes. And the number to call in live is 0791 478990. Whatever question you have, of course, you will get the answers here and now. Now, Festus, before the break, we were talking about some of the steps that women who have pre-existing diabetes, go through to ensure that, they take care of themselves before conceiving. All right. So what are some of those steps?
So the preconception counseling involves many steps. Okay. One, we help the lady to understand what diabetes is and what it involves. So that's the first step.
All right.
And so we go through helping them to make sure that they have accepted and they are also ready to take through the pregnancy, through the 9 months. And we also talk the issue of management and control of blood glucose. Okay. So we teach them how to measure their blood glucose at home, and we also give them target ranges, which they are going to make sure that when they measure their blood sugar, they are going to make sure that it is within those particular targets. Then we also teach them how to record and how to interpret those results. Among the other things that we go through is nutrition, and then we go through now pregnancy, and the tests that we do at any particular point, we go through up to delivery, and then we also talk issues after delivery. And also we also tell them what would be the complications both to the mother and to the unborn child when they have diabetes, and especially if the diabetes is not well controlled during pregnancy, what risks it would pose to both the mother and both the child. And then, of course, now they have to keep on regular appointments with us during the 9 months period of their pregnancy. And also we plan the delivery mode. Is it through normal delivery or will it require surgery? So all those things we discuss alongside all that, so that they, before they conceive, they are able to make a very informed decision. And they know that when they are going in to conceive, there are several other things to go with.
Okay.
Because for a lady who is not having diabetes and they just need a baby, they just go for a baby.
All right.